But right now, joining us on the Harbor One hotline, it is the owner of the Boston Celtics, Wyc Grousbeck. Wyc, Happy New Year.
Yeah, I guess it's not Wyc Wednesday, but we'll work with it.
We should do Wyc Wednesday. I would be up for that.
Hey, Wyc, before we get into the
I'm up for anything at this point, the way the team's playing. I'm like good. I'm good for whatever.
Well, speaking of the team, Wyc, I want you to be honest if possible. If the Celtics did not engineer a great comeback and beat Detroit last week, would Greg have ever been allowed back inside the Garden?
Well, I don't know about in those seats. I mean, we would find a seat for him up there with,
I mean,
but he'd be looking down at Wiggy. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I sweated a lot normally. I was sweating it out that game, I'll tell you.
That was on, hey, Detroit played like mad dogs, like desperation. And it was great that we came back. I kind of felt sorry for Detroit. But that's the way it is. And then they ended up winning the next game. So all good.
Yeah.
Wyc, recently Gordon Hayward was on a Paul George podcast and talked about his time here in Boston, the 2018-19 season, and saying that the players all felt like they had their own agenda. It was such a talented team, but they couldn't get it done because everybody was out for themselves. It seems like the team has figured it out in this season, despite having all the talent in the world. They're all in for the same cause. Do you feel that way? And did you feel that way back in 2018-19?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I saw just sort of the headline of Gordon's remarks on maybe Twitter or somewhere this morning, and he's a very, very good guy and was an important piece for us and had tough injury obviously, but battled back. Anyway, 18-19 was a long time ago, believe it or not. I mean, it seems like yesterday, but it did feel, I guess. I mean, it blew up, and we had guys leave and so on, and we didn't take it all the way. So, just talking about today, so I can't disagree with him, but today I do feel that this team is connected. I feel that they're, like my old sport years ago, which was rowing. Everybody's in the boat going the same direction. It feels a lot like that now. Guys are making the extra pass. There's so many plays during a game where there's that, like fourth pass and the person's wide open. And then because we have really good shooters, then they oftentimes make the shot. We're not a perfect team, but I feel like we're connected. And with that kind of feeling, I'm very hopeful.
Wyc, you have a unique ability to speak on something. We just had the Bill Belichick on before this segment, and you are close with Robert and Bill and everyone. I'm just curious back when you made the decision to put Brad Stevens into Danny Ainge's spot and change the head coach with a guy that was very popular, a champion as a player in Boston, a champion as an executive with you in the Celtics. What was that process like, and how difficult was it for you to move on inevitably from Danny at the end here with the Celtics?
Yeah, well, I was bummed about it. That's a technical term, being bummed. But I was, not my best vocabulary at this hour of the morning. But I wasn't expecting him to come in and say that he needed to step down, and that was really the way it was. And others thought that I had had something to do with it, but really I just received the news that he was leaving, and it was not welcome news to me. But thinking through what to do next, I was talking to Brad about how we would hire a general manager who would be sort of in between the two of us, and the three of us would really need to be partners and look at things together, which is the way it works over at the Celtics. With guys making recommendations, and I'm ultimately responsible for making the final approval decision, at least. But the ideas probably come from somewhere else. Anyway, we needed somebody in between me and Brad. Brad was the coach. And then I looked at him out of nowhere and said, Brad, actually, you've got a great basketball mind. You've been in the drafts the last 7 years or so with Danny. You've built teams at Butler. You know personnel. You know everybody in the league. Do you want to think about being the GM? Why don't you think about it? Because we are partners, Brad, and we work together well. And he thought of it overnight and came back and said, I'm in. So it was really an idea I had just because based on Brad's characteristics and qualities and my comfort working with him as a partner. So I didn't know he would turn out to be a guy that just took us to the finals like right away as a GM. He made some great moves, and they were built on great moves that Danny had made in the past. But anyway, I'm thrilled that Brad's president of basketball, and I really love the job he's done.
You mentioned everybody on this team rowing together, and I know at end of the season, like a lot of fans, you were disappointed in the outcome last season. When you look at that result of everybody kind of working together so far this season, are you able to point to one thing that's the difference? Is it Joe Mazzulla, the way he's coaching these guys? Is it Jason Tatum's leadership? Is it the addition of a couple new guys in the room? Are you able to figure out kind of why it's gone that way so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to answer it by saying, it's everybody, because it really is. That would be an easy way out of the question, is to say everybody's doing their part to team up. And there's a lot of truth in that. There's total truth in that. But the first names that came to mind when you said what's leading it or what's driving it, I really did think of Jaylen and Jason. I mean, look at Jaylen. In the offseason, he signed a big contract, to say the least, and that's a lot of pressure. It's a great situation for someone to be in, but it's also, he's come back and he's playing hands down the best basketball of his life, and he was already an all-star. And so he's taken that and put it into team play. He wants to win. He knows the goal. He buys in completely to the goal. I'm not trying to speak for him, but it's just obvious that he and Jason are leading this team to, cohesive, highly rated in offense, highly rated in defense, very connected. I'd put it first and foremost with Jason and Jaylen that they both stepped up and said they are willing to do what's necessary to try to, keep piling up the wins. We're not perfect, and I'm not trying to take a victory lap right now. I'm just trying to say I like where we are as the year turns, and I really looking forward to the second half of the season.
The Jays aside, it seems like Derrick White is having a coming out season of sorts. I believe the kids are saying Derrick White is him. Where do you fall on Derrick White, and what do you attribute to him having such success this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely, whenever the ball is in his hands, everybody in the place basically smiles and goes, let's see the right thing's about to happen. And it's the same way, by the way, with Drew Holiday. I mean, every time Drew has the ball, that 9 times out of 10, something good is going to happen. It's going to go to the right place, or he's going to make a great shot. These guys are so good as a backcourt and so tough for other people to play against. Just start with those two guys and then add on Porzingis, who comes in. I mean, I could go on and on about the team. We've lost some games, and I want to keep my feet on the ground because I get excited about this team, but I want to keep my feet on the ground, but look forward to the next game, every single time we're playing.
Speaking of additions, I was surprised by how much coaching Sam Cassell does when I was there the other night.
Well, if you knew him a little better, you wouldn't be surprised. He's never quiet. He's got an infectious personality. Back in 2008 when he was on the team, he was part of the leadership of the team. He's won 3 championships, right? 2 in Houston and 1 with us. And bringing him in, I think, for Joe and Brad, that was a brilliant move. Sam is everybody's favorite person, and they respect him. And if he says something, the players, whoever the player is, they're going to listen and they're going to, really try to take away from it and learn from it. He really he's played a great role so far on the squad.
Wyc, it feels like, and maybe it was mostly generated by the media anyways, but the noise surrounding the leadership of the team, the 2 Jays, Jason and Jaylen, it feels like through 30-plus games that they are as symbiotic as they've ever been, and the team seems to be really rolling in terms of outside noise or distractions not really being a factor this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of the thing. They're out west. They've got a game coming up against OKC, tough team. January, February are times when it's easy to have a lull. There's also the distraction of trading deadline around the league coming up in February. And then there's All-Star. This period right now is a period where you can easily lose your focus. And so I like the way they played, obviously, a couple of days ago. We've been on a stretch. I think we've won 6 in a row. But these next couple of months will say a lot. But basically, right now, you got to give this team an A. You got to give Joe an A for coaching. He's inspirational. You did mention him earlier in the questions, and I didn't get to him. But Joe is a guy that you just instinctively, when you meet him and spend time with him, and I would imagine as a player, if he's coaching you, you would feel like you want to make him proud of you. He's one of those guys where his opinion counts. He's very open and honest about how he feels and why he feels that way, and you want to be on the good side of that as a player. So he's kind of one of them. He's leading them as a guy in the trenches, right alongside the players, not as some ivory tower professor, sending down messages. He's like right there with them, fighting, and the whole thing is fun to watch. That's for sure.
Wyc, important question. What will you be watching on television tonight? Celtics Thunder or the premiere of the sitcom that is based on your life?
You're the best. Well, since I live the sitcom every day, I might be watching the Celtics Thunder. But the truth is, for anybody that can't tear themselves away at 8:30 tonight to watch NBC, it's after Night Court and before The Voice. They've got Extended Family on, and that's our show. That's loosely based on our lives. It's not a documentary, but it's inspired by some of the stuff that goes around here, which is pretty funny. At 8:30 is Extended Family. If you can't make it tonight, you can catch it on Peacock, I think, starting tomorrow. They stream the episodes. But thanks for mentioning it, Greg. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Greg has a show about his life. It's called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
No, I think it's such an interesting thing because essentially the concept is this guy who's the ex of a woman who ends up being married to the owner of the Boston Celtics, right? That's essentially the plot of the sitcom, right?
Yeah, you know Amelia very well, Greg.
Yeah.
She's in the middle of it, right? She's the one, and there's the two guys. There's the ex, and then there's the new guy. I mean, everything. There was very amicable divorce in real life, and Amelia and George, her ex, who's a Boston guy, went to BC, huge Boston sports fan across the board. All of that. They agreed that to put the kids first, leave the kids in their bedrooms in the family home, and get two little other places, which is a very, privileged, lucky thing to be able to do, but get two other little places and then switch in and out of the family home so the kids could stay put. If you follow that whole story, that's called nesting. It happens now and then, not that common, but that's all well and good. A very amicable divorce, put the kids first, and then she drags home the owner of one of his favorite sports teams, and his head kind of explodes. And and then he spends the next 5 years trying to tease the guy and get under his skin, and because the guy's this preppy, ignorant, book smart except street stupid. Go figure where that came from. It came from me. There's a Boy Scout, and then there's this Boston Irish, comedian basically, who's George, who's hilarious. And so we just go back and forth, and it's just a lot of fun, and so we made a sitcom out of it.
All right, so it's 8:30 tonight on NBC.
Awesome.
That is, yes, that's right.
And how does that work?
You.
Do you get, how many episodes is the run? How do they do that?
Yeah, they did a pilot 2 years ago. We filmed the pilot in L.A. while we were in the finals against Golden State, as it turns out. And then we looked at the pilot. NBC looked at the pilot, and they said, we're buying 13 episodes. So it's a full season of 13. And then hopefully more, but we'll see. So the pilot is the G League, and then the 13 episodes is actually being up in the NBA. But you never know; they could pull the plug. But the best thing is that we brought in Lenny Clark from Boston, who everybody knows. And Lenny made it. We brought him in the third episode, and he made it so funny. We went back and reshot the first two because now he's in every episode. He's absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, that's awesome. And I don't know how much you can or can't say about this, but I saw over the weekend that the PGA had announced you were a part of a group with John Henry and others that is working on. They had asked their players, I guess, over the weekend for an extension on. Can you say anything about that? About working on an investment in that? It's because I saw the story yesterday. Yep. I'm a sports investor with my partners at Causeway, and I am in a group. We are in a group that Fenway Sports is leading to have conversations with the PGA Tour, and so far it's conversations, and there are NDAs. We can't talk about it much, but what's in the paper is generally true, that there are conversations, and the idea is to have golf thrive and keep benefiting charities and keep going
in a good place. And it's been going that way since the 1960s, and the idea is to keep it going and get through this current period of uncertainty. So there's good intentions and really good people around the table, in my opinion. But we'll have to see what happens.
All right. Awesome. Well, that's exciting. Thanks for taking the time, and we will look forward to talking to you again soon. And go Celtics.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. And Greg, you're invited back. Hey, win or lose, you're invited back.
Okay. Any specific game, or just you're going to let me know?
Well, let's. No. My people are going to have to call your people. But,
all right. Sounds great. I mean, I was questioning my status when it was the Detroit game that I was invited to, but that's the one that was available on the calendar.
Greg,
sure.
they call the exhibition. The exhibition's the dress rehearsal for a reason, but they're really important games.
Craig, let me just go there and say, we've been friends for 20 years, and you're still questioning your status. That's not a vibe I'm sending, okay? That's you.
All right, yeah, it's me. All right, you're right.
That is you. That's on you, not on me. All right, I'll see you guys. Thanks a lot.
I'm insecure. It's an insecurity thing, Wyc. All right, you're the best. Thank you. There he is.
See ya. Bye-bye.
All right, that's Wyc Grousbeck, the owner of the Boston Celtics.